In this photograph of Moscow, taken from the space shuttle, you can clearly make out the river Moskva flowing through Russia's capital. The Kremlin, in the heart of the city, was the administrative center for the Soviet Union. It is situated north of the central bend of the river. To the southwest of the Kremlin, you can just make out Gorky Park.
The Federative Republic of Brazil.
This globe shows the movement of the continents over 600 million years. You can see how the land masses that we're familiar with today have changed and moved over the millennia. Notice how Africa and South America used to fit together. You can also see that mountain ranges tend to form where continental plates collide. Look for the collisions that caused the rise of the Himalayas and the Alps.
From space, the Earth looks like a deep blue disk because the deep blue sea covers 71% of the planet's surface. But what appears flat from afar reveals a dramatic landscape under the surface. Steep undersea canyons and deep trenches like the Mariana Trench in the Pacific, the deepest point in the ocean anywhere in the world, nearly 36,000 feet. That's deeper than the highest mountain on Earth is high, Mount Everest, which rises 29,000 feet above the border of Nepal and China. Everest is part of the Himalayan range, which has more than 30 mountains rising at least 24,000 feet. Kilimanjaro, at 19,000 feet, is part of a much smaller range, but is the highest peak in Africa. Africa does have the longest river in the world, the Nile, stretching for 4,145 miles. Only slightly shorter is the Amazon in South America, which actually carries more water than any other river on Earth. The Colorado River is known not for its length or volume, but for the creation of its current, the Grand Canyon, an abyss more than a mile deep. When it comes to uninterrupted vertical drop, the water flowing over Ribbon Falls in California's Yosemite National Park falls the furthest in North America, more than 1,600 feet. The saying, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it, isn't exactly true. Satellite imagery and computer modeling have significantly advanced weather forecasting. Talk about the weather, and you're talking about short-term conditions in the troposphere, the region of the Earth's atmosphere closest to the surface. Temperature, humidity, wind, precipitation, pressure, and cloudiness are the basic elements that interact to create the weather. Everything from the high clouds and rising pressure of a pleasant day to the high winds and rain of an intense circular center of low pressure called a tropical cyclone, or a hurricane when it affects North or Central America. Weather over long-term periods is called climate. Climate is dramatically influenced by latitude, the distance from the equator. That's because the Earth's axis is tilted 23.5 degrees from the vertical. That tilt, the Earth's rotation on its axis, and its 365-day revolution around the Sun result in the seasons, the Sun's rays hitting different parts of the globe in varying strengths throughout the year. Islands can be formed in several ways. The Florida Keys were formed by living coral reefs and limestone deposits formed on the underlying continental shelf. The geography of the islands is quite different from that of the adjacent continent. Generally, as an island's size decreases, so does the complexity of its climate, vegetation, terrain, and animal species, and the more fragile its web of life becomes. When humans transform island landscapes, the risk of permanent environmental damage is significant. Over 2.5 million tourists visit the Florida Keys each year, mostly traveling from mainland Florida via the 114 miles of roadways and bridges that connect the Keys to the continent. Many of these tourists come to snorkel, fish, or boat near Florida's unique coral reefs. With careful use of the recreation areas, the reef's long-term survival can't be protected. Major urban settlements have been built on lands ranging from marshlands to deserts, to the geologically unstable areas near fault lines. Land has even been reclaimed from coastal waters in large development projects throughout history.
Earth's crust consists of solid plates, floating like rafts on the molten rocks of the Earth's interior and drifting under the influence of its thermal activity. Their relative motions have caused great collisions in some areas, building giant mountain chains such as the Himalayas. Elsewhere, plates drift apart, grind past each other, or actually sink one under the other, often causing earthquakes and volcanoes.
The United States of America